Have you ever heard of a book that once shaped ancient faith, was even quoted in the Bible itself, yet was later removed and buried in the sands of time? A book that tells stories of angels who fell from heaven, of forbidden knowledge, of giants who once walked the earth, and of visions that mirror the end of days. This is the story of the Book of Enoch, one of the most mysterious, powerful, and controversial writings ever connected to the Bible. In the book of Genesis, there is a man named Enoch, a figure so enigmatic that only a single line describes his fate. And Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. What does that mean? Did he die, or did he simply vanish, taken directly into heaven? Centuries later, in the New Testament, the writer of Hebrews refers again to this mysterious man, saying that, by faith, Enoch was taken away so that he did not see death. And in the short epistle of Jude, a quote appears that gives us a glimpse of something extraordinary. Jude writes, "Enoch, the seventh from Adam, prophesied, saying, 'Behold, the Lord comes with 10,000s of his holy ones.'" But this prophecy is not found anywhere in the Old Testament. It comes from another book, a text known in ancient times as the Book of Enoch. This connection means that the early followers of Jesus may have known and respected this writing. So what exactly is this book, and why was it removed from the Bible? The Book of Enoch, or more precisely, 1 Enoch, is not a single text, but a collection of 5 major sections. These are known as the Book of the Watchers, the Book of Parables, the Astronomical Book, the Dream Visions, and the Epistle of Enoch. Together they form a sweeping story about heaven, earth, angels, and the final judgment of the world. Written somewhere between 300 and 100 BCE, these texts claim to preserve the revelations that Enoch received after being taken to heaven. The most famous section, the Book of the Watchers, begins with a shocking story. It describes how 200 angels, called the Watchers, descended from heaven to live among humans. They took human wives, revealed forbidden secrets, from magic to metalworking, and fathered a race of giants known as the Nephilim. Their rebellion corrupted the earth and led God to send a great flood to cleanse the world. If this sounds familiar, it's because fragments of the same story appear briefly in Genesis 6, where it says, "The sons of God saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, and they took wives for themselves." But in Enoch's account, that single verse expands into a grand cosmic drama of sin, judgment, and redemption. In other sections, Enoch describes his journeys through the heavens. He witnesses the architecture of the universe, the courses of the stars, the gates of the sun and moon, and the angels who keep the order of creation. He is shown the throne of God, the fate of souls after death, and the ultimate judgment that awaits the fallen angels and the wicked. The Book of Parables introduces a messianic figure called the Elect One, a divine Son of Man who will sit on the throne of glory to judge the world. Many scholars believe this imagery later influenced the way early Christians described Jesus Christ in the Gospels and Revelation.
So if the Book of Enoch was so important, why was it not included in the Bible? The reasons are both historical and theological. First, the question of authorship. The book claims to have been written by Enoch himself, a man who lived before the flood, yet scholars date the text to the centuries just before the time of Jesus. This made it impossible for it to have been written by the ancient patriarch. Second, by the time Jewish authorities finalized their sacred writings, roughly in the 1st century CE, Enoch was considered too recent, too strange, and too speculative to be part of the Hebrew Bible. Later, as the Christian church began forming its own canon, the same problem arose. While early church fathers such as Tertullian and Clement of Alexandria respected the Book of Enoch and even quoted it, later councils decided that its unusual angelology, cosmology, and visions were not in harmony with accepted scripture. They also noted that the book lacked widespread use across all Christian communities. Eventually, it disappeared from the canon altogether, preserved only in one language, ancient Ge'ez, the sacred tongue of Ethiopia. Remarkably, in Ethiopia, the Book of Enoch survived intact. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church continued to regard it as part of their Bible, a divine revelation equal in status to other scriptures. This is why, today, the complete text of 1 Enoch exists only because Ethiopian monks copied and preserved it for nearly 2,000 years, while the rest of the Christian world forgot it. When archaeologists discovered fragments of the Book of Enoch among the Dead Sea Scrolls in the 20th century, it confirmed that the book was widely read and respected among Jewish groups long before the time of Jesus. These fragments, written in Aramaic and Hebrew, matched the Ethiopian version almost perfectly, proving that Enoch's writings were ancient and genuine, not later forgeries. Reading the Book of Enoch today is like peering into a lost chapter of biblical history. It fills the gaps between Genesis and Revelation. It explains why ancient people believed the world was full of spiritual forces, angels, watchers, and divine messengers constantly influencing human destiny. It also expands the idea of judgment and salvation, showing that long before the Gospels were written, Jewish thinkers were already imagining a coming Messiah who would rule the world with righteousness. But there's another reason Enoch's book was removed. Its message was unsettling. It described angels being judged, cosmic secrets being revealed, and a vision of heaven that didn't fit easily with later theological systems. For some early church leaders, it seemed too mysterious, too open to misinterpretation, perhaps even too dangerous. And so over time, the Book of Enoch faded into obscurity, condemned not because it was false, but because it was too strange, too apocalyptic, too full of divine mysteries. Yet the book's influence never truly disappeared. The ideas of fallen angels, the Nephilim, and divine judgment echoed throughout later Christian writings, from the letters of Peter and Jude to the revelation of John. The concept of a Son of Man seated on a throne of glory also prefigures Christ's role in the New Testament. In this way, Enoch may have shaped Christianity more deeply than most realize, even though his name was erased from the Bible itself. Today, modern scholars don't view the Book of Enoch as forbidden or heretical, but as a window into the ancient world. It helps us understand how early Jews and Christians thought about heaven, angels, and the end of time. It bridges the gap between the Old Testament prophets and the apocalyptic visions of the New Testament. For historians, it's a priceless treasure, not a lost gospel, but a missing piece of history. So what does this all mean for us? Perhaps the real mystery isn't why the Book of Enoch was removed, but why it still speaks to us. It reminds us that sacred history is larger than the pages we inherited, that faith once included many voices, some silenced, others forgotten. And it challenges us to see the Bible not as a closed box of secrets, but as a living library, shaped by centuries of human searching for the divine. The Book of Enoch may not stand among the 66 books of the modern Bible, but its echo lingers in the verses of Jude, in the visions of Revelation, and in the imagination of every seeker who wonders what other truths might still lie hidden, waiting to be found.